Hello again, my DIY loving friends. I'm Sarah, and this is Medicated Housewife DIY, where crafting and mental health come together. Today, we're diving into some chic and cheap DIYs that will give your home a high-end designer makeover using Dollar Tree supplies and without the designer price tag. Who says you can't have champagne taste on a lemonade budget? So what are we waiting for? Let's go DIY together. For this DIY, we're using a total of 64 of the natural color Tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, as well as the super glue wood glue, also from Dollar Tree. And at first I was making sets of 3 blocks that were all glued end to end. As you see me doing right here, I'm making 16 sets. So as I said, I started making 16 sets of the 3 blocks glued end to end. And then I realized I needed all of these sets to be a little bit longer. So I needed them all to be 4 blocks long. And I took all 16 sets of 3 and I added 1 block to the end of all of them to make them 16 sets of 4 blocks that are attached end to end for a total of 64 blocks used in total, as you see right here. Then I'm going to take the 16 sets of 4 and I need to attach them together in 2s side by side to create 8 sets of 8 blocks. And those are made out of the 2 sets of 4 that you see right here. I have 4 of these wood squares that come in a pack from Dollar Tree, and using this Varathane wood stain in the color Ipswich Pine, which I will link for you below, I'm staining all 4 of the squares plus all 8 of my sets of 8 blocks with the Ipswich Pine stain. I'm going to stain all the sides, all the edges, and the ends of the block sets, and both sides and all 4 edges of the 4 wood squares. I'm using a dry paper towel to soak up the excess stain, and then I did a second coat of the stain on the 4 wood squares and the 8 sets of 8 blocks, and I allowed them all to dry for several hours. Once the stain had dried, I take the 2 sets of 8 blocks and I want to create corner pieces with them. So I glue 1 set of 8 to another set, as you see here, and I'm creating a corner. So I'll end up with 4 sets of 16 blocks made into 4 corner pieces, and then I allow them some time to dry. To begin assembling the project, I place 3 loose tumbling tower blocks down as spacers, and I place 1 of my wood squares on top of them. I dry fit 2 of the corner pieces diagonal from each other on 2 of the corners of that wood square, and I use a pencil to mark where the corners touch the square and apply some glue to attach the squares to the corner pieces. I repeat the same thing on a second set of corners and the wood square and allow those 2 pieces to fully dry. Once that side was dry, I turn the piece upside down and I place 2 levels of the loose blocks down as spacers so that this particular wood square will have twice as much space between the top of the corners and where the square is placed. Again, we're going to mark the square and where the square and corners touch each other, and we're going to apply some glue to attach the square to the corners at that point. I'm going to repeat that same thing with the second piece, placing the 4th final wood square also on top of 2 levels of loose blocks to match the first piece that we just made. Then I'm going to allow those 2 pieces to fully dry. I turn the piece over again so that the top is on the bottom, and I want to reinforce those top shelf squares. So I grab 4 wood cubes from Dollar Tree and I glue 1 of them under that bottom square at the corner, which is actually going to be the top of the project. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So there is a wood cube under the 2 corners of the square where it attaches to the corner piece, helping to hold the square up when we turn that project right side up and making it stronger. When I looked at the finished project, I really didn't like the visible edges of the wood squares. Thank you very much, Dollar Tree. So I had these wood coffee stirrers in my stash, but you can use the craft sticks from Dollar Tree to do this too. I stained them with that same Ipswich pine stain and then cut them to size to fit on the 4 exposed edges on each of the 4 wood squares. I used some hot glue to then attach the cut pieces of stir sticks to cover those ugly, unfinished edges of the exposed wood squares. And Dollar Tree, if you are listening, please consider making the edges of those cut wood squares that come in a pack more finished so that they look better. Thank you for listening. And these are my tumbling tower block square shelves, or 2-tiered trays. I love the stained color of the wood, and these modern tiered trays look so sleek, but with this rustic wood vibe. They're super neutral and would work with so many different decor styles. Useful for candles or small plants or greenery, or any decorative object, really. A simple and quick DIY with lots of functional uses. For this DIY, we're using a total of 114 of the dreaded brown tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. You guys knew I had to fit in a brown tumbling tower block DIY, didn't you? You knew it. Well, I won't disappoint you. First, we are making 4 of these 12 block squares, each square made up of 4 sets of 3 blocks that are attached side by side. And you can pause the video or you can slow down the video if you want to see the exact configurations of these 4 large squares of 12 blocks. Then I am making 7 sets of 3 blocks each. These are all going to be sandwiched together, one on top of another, as you can see right here. Next, I'm making 9 sets of 2 blocks that are sandwiched one on top of another, like a sandwich cookie, and then another set of 9 sets of 2 blocks. I'm going to just repeat the whole thing. It's also sandwiched one on top of another. And with the 18 sets of 2 blocks, I'm then going to start to combine them, 2 sets of 2 to make 1 set of 4. Glued one on top of another, and I apologize that the bottom of the video was totally cut off, so you can't see all of the sets that I'm attaching, but you're gonna have to take my word for what's going on. So in the end, we're gonna end up with 9 sets of 4 blocks, as you can see I do at the end. I take those 9 sets of 4 blocks and I'm attaching them together end to end into a very long line, doing my best to keep the line as straight as I can. It wasn't perfect, but neither am I. I take 9 single blocks and I'm going to place 1 block on top of each of those attached 4 block sets that are standing on their sides, and I'm going to allow all the pieces some time to dry. Once all my pieces are dry, I've been sanding these lovely brown blocks lately and loving how they look sanded down. However, for whatever reason, these brown blocks did not sand down the same way. They just looked muddy, like dusty and muddy. I'm hoping it's just this batch and that the next couple of boxes will sand correctly, but it didn't work for this project, so I needed a plan B. So my plan B is to use this Folk Art Butter Pecan paint and a dry chip brush to distress paint over the brown blocks. Honestly, it doesn't look as good as the sanded blocks usually do, but we gotta do what we gotta do and make it work. So I started by distress painting the 3 block sets, then painted the 4 12 block squares, and lastly, the long 45 block piece that we created, distress painting all the sides and particularly the edges and corners to add a little visual interest to that solid brown color. To begin assembling the project, I take 3 of the 3 block sets lying on their sides and I place the long 45 block piece placed on top of the 3 block sets, and they're spaced out evenly underneath it just to give it some height. And I'm going to glue those 3 block sets in place with some wood glue. Then I take the remaining 4 3-block sets that I have, and I'm going to glue them to the center of each of my large 12-block squares. They're going to be centered right in the middle of the square. Lastly, I attach the 4 12-block squares to that long 45-block piece that we have, and I'm spacing the 4 squares out as evenly as I can just by eyeballing them. And this is my tumbling tower block candelabra, or it could also be a 4-tier plant holder. Just a cool looking wood block decor piece that works on a shelf or a windowsill or a mantle, blending in seamlessly with multiple home decor styles, and yet another DIY using those abundant brown tumbling tower blocks. I just can't stop using them in these videos. For this DIY, I've got this gold charger plate like the kind you can get at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to paint it with Rust-Oleum Mirror Effects spray, which I will link for you below, and 4 of these jumbo wood dice also from Dollar Tree, which I'm also going to spray with the mirror effects as well. Then I have this glow-in-the-dark plastic chain from the Halloween section of Dollar Tree, and I'm going to paint that using this Rust-Oleum Bright Shiny Gold spray paint, which I'll also link for you below. Once the charger plate and chain are dry, I want to attach the chain links standing up around the edge of the charger plate. I'm using this Star Bond super glue gel, which I will link for you below, but the super glue gel from Dollar Tree would work for this too. I'm gonna carefully and slowly glue each link to the edge of the plate, and I wait around 90 seconds for the glue to set up and to make that link stay in place before continuing to the next link until I've worked my way around the entire charger plate and all of my links are standing up and solidly attached. I decided to only use 3 of the 4 jumbo dice that I had painted. I placed them in a triangle formation, added some super glue to the tops, and adjusted my charger plate on top of them, centering it, and then I let it dry for several hours. And this is my gold chain tray, and honestly, I really like the way this tray looks. It's much more upscale looking and high-end than just a plastic Halloween chain glued to a Dollar Tree plate. I think this tray is spectacular for a coffee table or as a centerpiece on a dining table, definitely giving some glam and elegance to your decor. And for like $2.50 or so, how can you possibly go wrong? And there you have it, my friends, 3 stunning Dollar Tree DIYs that scream high-end without whispering to your wallet. If you loved these designer transformations, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to Medicated Housewife DIY for more crafty adventures and to make your home as fabulous as you are. Let me know in the comments which DIY was your favorite and why. You know I love hearing from all of you. Thanks for watching. Until next time, remember that together we're making the world a more beautiful place, one DIY at a time.